Daniel sat quietly on the porch of his modest home, watching the twin suns slowly set behind the distant mountains. Life on the colony was simple, peaceful, and predictable, a stark contrast to his turbulent years as a space marine. He preferred this quiet life, though sometimes he found himself missing the adventure and the camaraderie of his past. Tonight, the air was warm, and he decided to walk down to the small market square near the colony's center. He put on his old jacket, worn. From many years of use, its fabric faded and patched. On the sleeve was a symbol, hardly visible, a remnant of his old life, a simple mark that meant little to him now, but had once been his pride. The market buzzed with activity. People chatted cheerfully, exchanging goods and news. Daniel enjoyed strolling through, nodding politely to familiar faces. As he turned a corner, he noticed a commotion. Curiosity drew him closer, where he saw a young alien girl being surrounded by two rough-looking men. Their voices were raised in anger. "You stole from us!" one man accused, his face twisted with rage. "I took nothing," the alien girl pleaded, her voice trembling but firm. She looked frightened yet defiant, her deep blue eyes flashing in the fading light. Daniel watched the scene unfold. No one around moved to intervene. Without thinking, he stepped forward, his voice calm and strong. "That's enough," he said clearly, standing between the girl and her accusers. "What's going on here?" The two men turned, clearly irritated. They eyed Daniel cautiously, noticing his confident stance. "Mind your own business," one snarled. "She says she didn't take anything," Daniel replied steadily. "Why don't you let her go?" The second man hesitated, clearly weighing Daniel's determined look. With a grunt of frustration, they backed away, muttering curses as they disappeared into the growing crowd. Daniel turned toward the girl. She looked at him with wide eyes, visibly relieved. He offered her a reassuring smile. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. She nodded slowly, then her eyes drifted down to his jacket. Suddenly, her expression shifted to awe and disbelief. Without warning, she knelt before him, bowing her head respectfully. "You are the one," she whispered reverently. "I never believed I'd see this day." Daniel stepped back, surprised and confused. He glanced around, noticing the curious stares of nearby people. "Please stand up," he urged gently, embarrassed by the attention. "You don't have to kneel." Slowly, the girl rose, her eyes never leaving the faded symbol on his jacket. "This symbol," she said softly, reaching out hesitantly to touch it, "is sacred among my people. It means you are chosen. You must come with me." "Chosen?" Daniel repeated, bewildered. "For what?" The girl looked at him earnestly, determination shining brightly in her eyes. "To save my people. Your coming was foretold." Daniel hesitated, unsure of what to say. He had lived many adventures, faced countless dangers, but he never imagined something like this. Still, her sincerity touched him deeply. He could not simply dismiss her words. "Let's get somewhere quiet," he suggested, guiding her away from the crowded market and back to his home. Once inside, Daniel offered her a seat and poured them both some water. She drank gratefully, her hands trembling slightly. "What's your name?" Daniel asked, trying to ease her nerves. "Zara," she answered quietly, looking around his modest home curiously. "You are Daniel, correct?" "That's right," he said, impressed. She knew his name. "Now, can you explain what's going on? How did you know my name, and why did that symbol matter so much?" Zara took a deep breath, clearly gathering her thoughts. "My world is torn apart by war," she began softly. "For generations, my people have fought endlessly, desperate for peace. A prophecy tells of a warrior from another world bearing this very symbol who will bring hope and unity." Daniel looked down at the faded emblem on his sleeve. It had been so long since he'd last thought about what it represented. It seemed unbelievable that something so simple held such significance. "I'm no savior," he told Zara honestly. "I'm just a man, living a quiet life now. My fighting days are behind me. Zara shook her head, her voice steady. The prophecy has never been wrong. You might not see yourself as a hero, but my people have been waiting for you. You are our last hope. Daniel sat quietly for a moment, feeling the weight of her words. The peaceful life he'd grown comfortable with was suddenly challenged by a strange sense of duty and compassion. He realized Zara truly believed he could make a difference. Perhaps, he thought, this was the adventure he had been unknowingly waiting for. Tell me more about your world, Daniel finally said, leaning forward. His curiosity piqued. Zara's eyes brightened with hope and determination as she began her story. Zara spoke clearly, her voice steady yet full of emotion. She described her home planet, Vespera, a place once vibrant and beautiful, but now scarred by war. Her people, the Vesparians, had lived in peace for centuries, guided by ancient traditions and a deep respect for their history. But peace had shattered decades ago, leaving them divided and desperate. Daniel listened closely as Zara explained the war's origins. Long ago, she said, the Vesparians discovered a powerful crystal deep within our planet. We called it the Starstone. It gave us energy, technology, and prosperity. But soon, greed took root. Different factions arose, each seeking control over the Starstone. Peaceful debates turned into arguments, and arguments turned into war. She paused briefly, sadness filling her eyes. Daniel could see the weight of pain she carried. She continued softly, Now, my people suffer greatly. Cities are destroyed, families are separated, and our leaders have lost sight of unity. They think only of power. Daniel nodded slowly, understanding her pain. He had seen such suffering many times during his service, and the memory still haunted him. Yet something about Zara's sincerity stirred him deeply. She believed entirely in the hope this prophecy provided. And this prophecy? Daniel asked gently, trying to grasp the enormity of what she proposed. How exactly does it mention me? Zara smiled faintly, a spark of hope returning to her eyes. It speaks of an outsider bearing the mark of the ancient guardians. Your symbol, she gestured respectfully to Daniel's worn sleeve, is exactly as described. The prophecy says you will unite our people and restore peace. Daniel looked at his old uniform sleeve again, feeling a strange sense of responsibility he had never anticipated. Could a faded symbol truly hold such power? Could he, a retired soldier living quietly, make such a difference? Why do you trust this prophecy so much? Daniel asked, honestly curious. Because our history has always been guided by prophecies, Zara explained simply. Every major event in our past has been foretold. Each prophecy has come true. My people trust them deeply. Without this faith, many would have lost hope entirely. Daniel understood how hope could sustain people through hardships. Still, he had never imagined himself part of something so grand. How did you end up here on this colony? Daniel asked carefully, wanting to understand Zara's journey. I was searching, Zara replied, her voice quieter now. I spent years traveling between worlds, following rumors and hints. I never imagined I would truly find you. But when I saw your symbol, I felt certain. You are the one foretold to help us. Daniel felt a deep sense of admiration for Zara's bravery. Her journey had been long and difficult, yet she had never given up. Your people, Daniel said softly, are they ready to accept an outsider's help? Even if this prophecy says so, war can make trust difficult. They will, Zara insisted firmly. Many are tired of fighting. They want peace desperately. The prophecy will give them the strength and hope to rally behind you. Daniel sighed deeply. He had built a comfortable life away from conflict. Yet, he could not deny Zara's plea. Her hope stirred something inside him, a desire to do good, to help people in need. I'll need to think about it, Daniel said finally, wanting to be honest. This is a big decision. Of course, Zara agreed, quickly, understanding in her voice. I know it is not an easy choice, but please consider it seriously. My people need you." As night settled deeper around the house, Daniel prepared a small room for Zara. "Stay here tonight," he offered gently. "You need rest." Zara smiled gratefully, her exhaustion visible. "Thank you, Daniel." He watched her into the guest room, his thoughts spinning with possibilities and fears. Sleep did not come easily that night. Daniel lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wrestling with the decision he faced. His life had been quiet and peaceful. Until today. Now, destiny seemed determined to pull him back into chaos. Yet, Zara's trust and belief gave him pause. She had traveled worlds to find him, fueled solely by faith and hope. Could he turn away from that? As morning broke, Daniel stepped onto his porch, feeling the warmth of the rising suns. He found Zara already outside, watching the horizon quietly. "I've made my decision," Daniel told her calmly. She turned quickly, eyes wide with hope and anxiety. "I'll help you," he declared firmly, resolve settling deep within his heart. "I don't know how much I can do, but I promise to try." Zara smiled brightly, relief flooding her face. "You are already doing more than you know." Together, they stood facing the new day, knowing challenges awaited them. Yet, Daniel felt strangely hopeful. Perhaps this was exactly where he was meant to be. Daniel and Zara left the colony 2 days later. Their journey to Vespera took several days on a modest transport ship. During the voyage, Zara spent most of her time explaining her planet's customs and culture to Daniel, helping him prepare for what lay ahead. He listened carefully, understanding that gaining the trust of Zara's people was essential. When their ship finally arrived, Daniel saw the damage from the war clearly. The planet below was beautiful but scarred. Vast areas of forest were burnt and destroyed, cities stood ruined, and the people looked weary and hopeless. As they stepped on the Vespera soil, a small group waited anxiously. Zara introduced Daniel to Kira, a wise, elderly leader with kind eyes, and Torin, a younger warrior with a cautious stare. "Welcome, Daniel," Kira greeted warmly. "We have waited long for this moment." "I'll do my best," Daniel replied earnestly. "But first, I need to understand your people and the challenges you face." Torin eyed Daniel warily, suspicion in his voice. "Do you truly believe an outsider can help us?" Zara quickly answered before Daniel could respond. "The prophecy has guided us well, Torin. Trust is essential now." Torin nodded reluctantly, still unsure but willing to listen. Daniel appreciated the caution trust had to be earned. Over the next few days, Zara guided Daniel through several villages. Everywhere, the reaction to Daniel was mixed. Many were excited, hopeful, but others were skeptical, uncertain about placing their faith in a stranger. One afternoon, Daniel spoke to a group in a small village square, his voice steady and clear. "I am here because Zara believes in your prophecy. I have seen war, and I have seen peace. Your suffering is clear, but unity is your greatest strength. Together, you can rebuild and heal." His words touched many. Afterward, a young boy approached Daniel shyly. "Are you really here to help us?" Daniel knelt to meet his gaze directly. "Yes," he assured gently, smiling. "But I cannot do it alone. Will you help me?" The boy smiled widely and nodded enthusiastically. Daniel felt a warm hope stir within him. Still, not everyone welcomed him. Later that night, as he rested, Daniel overheard heated whispers outside his room. "He's an outsider," a voice argued bitterly. "Why should we trust him?" "The prophecy," another voice insisted. "We need hope, even from strangers." Daniel sighed softly. Winning trust would take patience and courage. The following morning, Zara brought Daniel to a hidden camp deep within a dense forest. Here, resistance fighters trained and planned in secrecy. They were brave but weary, their faces tired from long years of struggle. Daniel knew instantly that these were the ones who could turn the tide if he could earn their respect. "This is Daniel," Zara announced firmly. "He has come to fulfill the prophecy." The fighters studied Daniel silently, measuring his worth. Daniel stepped forward confidently. I am here to fight alongside you, not lead above you. Your courage has sustained your people. Let my experience and training strengthen your fight. His humble words seemed to reach many. Slowly, nods and murmurs of approval filled the air. Days that followed were intense and demanding. Daniel trained alongside Zara's people, teaching them discipline, tactics, and strategy. Zara remained close, providing encouragement and advice. Her presence boosted Daniel's confidence, and together they inspired hope among the fighters. Gradually, the fighters' suspicion turned to respect and trust. Daniel proved his skill in training drills, demonstrating leadership without arrogance. Zara's calm support helped bridge any lingering doubt. However, during a critical training session, Torin openly challenged Daniel. You talk about unity and discipline, he said sharply, but words mean nothing without proof. Daniel understood Torin's challenge. He stepped forward calmly. Then let's see it in action. A friendly duel began. Torin fought fiercely, clearly. Skilled, Daniel responded with calm precision, using the techniques he had taught the group. Gradually, Torin's aggressive strikes slowed. Daniel finally disarmed him, gently but decisively. You fought bravely, Daniel said respectfully. Offering his hand to Torin. Torin hesitated briefly before grasping Daniel's hand firmly. You truly know how to fight, he admitted grudgingly. Perhaps you are what we need. From that moment, Torin became a steadfast ally. Daniel knew that unity was possible. Each day, their bond strengthened, and the fighters became more effective, hopeful, and united. One evening, Daniel sat quietly near a small fire with Zara. The flickering flames cast soft shadows across her thoughtful face. You have done so much already, Zara said gratefully. My people are hopeful again. This is just the beginning, Daniel replied sincerely. True peace will require much more, Zara smiled gently. With you here, we finally have a chance. Daniel looked around, watching the fighters laughing softly, sharing stories and camaraderie. He realized how deeply he had come to care for Zara and her people. Their fight was now his fight, and he would see it through until the end. As the days turned into weeks, Daniel grew accustomed to life among Zara's people. Each morning, he trained with the resistance fighters, teaching them military tactics and strategies. His quiet confidence and patience helped build trust. The warriors grew stronger and more united, believing in the possibility of peace for the first time in years. Zara was always at Daniel's side, offering advice and helping him understand the Vesparian culture better. Her guidance made it easier for him to gain the respect of her people. Together they traveled to many villages, recruiting and encouraging others to join their cause. One afternoon, while walking near a riverbank, Daniel saw Zara deep in thought, staring at the gentle waters flowing by. What's on your mind? Daniel asked softly, noticing her troubled expression. Zara sighed, turning to him slowly. My people have suffered so much. Sometimes I worry that peace is impossible. Daniel gently placed his hand on her shoulder, his voice steady. Peace is always possible. It might be hard to achieve, but it's worth every effort. Zara smiled, faintly finding comfort in his reassuring words. You give us hope, Daniel, even when things look dark. Their quiet moment was interrupted by a messenger rushing toward them, breathless and anxious. The capital. It's under attack. The regime has discovered our plans and has moved to crush the rebellion. Daniel felt urgency grip him. He turned immediately to Zara. We must act now. Gather the fighters, we leave at once. Within hours, the resistance forces moved swiftly toward the capital. Daniel led the march, his mind sharp and focused. He knew this was the moment they had prepared. FOR. Zara stayed close, encouraging the warriors, keeping their spirits high despite the looming danger. When they reached the outskirts of the city, Daniel saw fires burning in the distance. The sounds of fighting filled the air, a stark reminder of the stakes involved. He knew they had little time. We must move carefully, Daniel advised the group. Stay together, trust each other, and remember what you've learned. The fighters nodded, their faces determined. Zara glanced at Daniel with trust and pride. The group entered the city, moving quietly through narrow streets and alleys. Everywhere, people hid in fear, buildings lay in ruins, and the regime's soldiers patrolled aggressively. Suddenly, a group of enemy soldiers confronted them, weapons drawn and ready. Without hesitation, Daniel signaled to his team, and they quickly moved into action. The training paid off. Daniel's group fought bravely, using disciplined strategies to overpower their attackers. As they moved further into the city, more battles erupted. Daniel's leadership kept the fighters focused, but he noticed Zara growing increasingly concerned. "What's wrong?" he asked quietly during a brief pause. "The regime's leader, General Varric," she explained, "is ruthless. He'll stop at nothing to maintain control. He must be confronted directly, or we risk losing everything." Daniel nodded seriously. "Then we must face him. Take me to him." Zara led Daniel and a small group toward the city center, where General Varric had established his stronghold. The building stood imposing, heavily guarded and secure. Yet Daniel knew this was their chance. "Stay alert," Daniel whispered firmly. "We move quickly." They navigated through hidden passages Zara knew, managing to bypass many guards. Eventually, they entered a large chamber where General Varric stood confidently, flanked by armed guards. "Welcome," Varric sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. "I was expecting you, but you won't stop me." Daniel stepped forward calmly, his eyes locked on Varric. "Your people suffer. It's time to end this." Varric laughed harshly. "My people? They need strong leadership, not weakness and dreams of peace." Daniel shook his head slowly. "True strength comes from unity, compassion, and trust, not fear and oppression." Varric, furious at Daniel's words, ordered his guards to attack. A fierce battle erupted. Daniel's fighters held strong, using every skill they had learned. Amid the chaos, Daniel moved toward Varric, determined to end the conflict directly. They clashed intensely, Varroc's anger making him reckless. Daniel fought smartly, using careful, calculated movements to counter Varric's aggressive strikes. Eventually, Daniel disarmed Varric, standing victorious yet refusing to strike further. "Yield," Daniel said firmly, offering mercy. "End this war and restore peace." Varric, defeated and exhausted, nodded reluctantly. His forces, witnessing their leader's surrender, ceased fighting. Zara approached Daniel, relief and joy evident on her face. "You did it," she whispered gratefully. Daniel shook his head gently. "We did it, all of us together." As the fighters cheered, Daniel knew their fight was far from over. Yet, today was an important victory, a step toward the peace Zara dreamed of. He stood beside her, looking at the city around them, determined more than ever to see her world restored. After General Varric surrendered, Daniel and Zara focused on restoring peace and stability. The immediate battle was won, but rebuilding the broken cities and healing deep divisions among the Vesparians was a challenging task. Daniel encouraged everyone to come together and talk openly about their grievances. He arranged meetings where villagers and former fighters could express their feelings without fear. Zara stood by him, translating and offering words of comfort and understanding. Her steady support helped build bridges between communities that had once been enemies. As days passed, trust gradually grew stronger. Villagers worked side by side, rebuilding homes and repairing streets. Warriors who had fought against each other began cooperating, discovering common goals and hopes. Daniel found himself deeply moved by the resilience and willingness to forgive shown by Zara's people. One afternoon, Daniel sat beside a large river with Zara, watching children play peacefully nearby. Their laughter filled the air, reminding Daniel of why their efforts mattered so much. "It's amazing," Zara said softly, smiling at the scene before them. "I never thought we'd see this again." Daniel nodded, feeling hopeful yet cautious. We've come far, but there's still a long road ahead. Unity and peace take time. Zara turned to face him, her eyes bright and sincere. We couldn't have done it without you, Daniel. Your patience and wisdom have guided us all. Daniel felt warmth spread through him, grateful for her words. You and your people had the strength all along. I simply helped show the way. Their conversation was interrupted by Kira, who approached with urgent news. We have a problem in the northern villages. Some refuse to accept the peace. They fear betrayal and cling to old hatred. Daniel stood up immediately, sensing the seriousness of the issue. We must go there and talk with them. Zara, will you come? Of course, she answered quickly, determination clear in her eyes. They traveled swiftly to the northern villages, where tension and suspicion remained high. Upon arriving, Daniel and Zara saw the villagers gathered, faces hardened by mistrust. Their leader, a strong and wary man named Loran, stepped forward. We have heard your promises, Loran said harshly, his eyes narrow and skeptical. But how can we trust peace will last? How can we trust each other? Daniel stepped forward calmly, speaking with sincerity and openness. I understand your fear. War leaves scars. But we can only move forward by trusting, by believing that change is possible. Look around you, your neighbors, your children, they deserve peace. Loran hesitated, clearly torn between suspicion and hope. Zara spoke gently, her voice warm and soothing. We must trust, Loran. Our children deserve better than the fear we grew up with. Slowly, Loran nodded, the tension easing slightly from his face. Perhaps we can try, he admitted reluctantly. With Zara's help, Daniel organized discussions. In the village, people spoke honestly, voicing fears and hopes. The conversations were difficult but necessary. Daniel listened closely, respecting their emotions and guiding them gently toward understanding. By evening, a cautious agreement emerged. Villagers promised to try to open their hearts and rebuild trust. Daniel felt pride and relief watching. Old rivals shake hands, willing to give peace a chance. As night fell, Daniel and Zara returned to the central village. On their journey back, Zara looked at Daniel thoughtfully. You have taught me something important, she admitted quietly. What's that? Daniel asked curiously. That strength isn't just about fighting battles. True strength is about kindness, patience, and understanding. It's about bringing people together. Daniel smiled warmly, appreciating her insight. Exactly. Real strength comes from unity and compassion. War ends lives, but peace gives them meaning. Back in the main village, they found the atmosphere hopeful and energetic. People were planning a festival to celebrate their newfound unity. Daniel felt encouraged, seeing such enthusiasm and joy among those who had endured so much suffering. The festival brought everyone together. Families shared meals, musicians played joyful music, and children danced happily. Daniel watched the festivities quietly, his heart full. You did this, Zara whispered, standing close beside him. You gave them hope. Daniel shook his head gently, smiling. No, Zara, we did this. Your people, your strength, they made this possible. Zara smiled, her face illuminated by the celebration around them. Then perhaps it was destiny that brought you here after all. Daniel thought about her words, recalling how he once doubted the prophecy. Now, seeing the happiness and unity surrounding him, he understood his role clearly. Perhaps it truly was fate that brought him here. As the evening continued, Daniel watched Zara, admiring her courage, wisdom, and kindness. Together, they had started something meaningful, a real path toward lasting peace. The future still held challenges, but he was ready to face them, knowing they had already achieved so much. As the festival ended, Daniel and Zara knew that maintaining peace required ongoing effort and vigilance. With the capital and surrounding villages stabilizing, they turned their attention to rebuilding damaged infrastructure, schools, and hospitals. Everywhere they traveled, the Vesparians worked hard, Inspired by Daniel's quiet dedication and Zara's steady presence, one bright morning, Zara approached Daniel with news. A delegation from the eastern provinces is arriving soon, she explained. They've kept their distance until now, waiting to see if peace was truly possible. Daniel felt encouraged by this development. It's a positive sign, he replied. Their willingness to meet is a step toward real unity. They prepared diligently for the delegation's arrival. The meeting would be critical, determining whether all Vesparian factions could finally unite. Daniel worked with Zara and her advisors, carefully planning how best to welcome and engage the newcomers. When the delegation arrived, Daniel noticed the cautious expressions on their faces. They appeared wary but curious. Their leader, a thoughtful woman named Yara, greeted Daniel and Zara respectfully but distantly. We have observed your efforts, Yara began carefully, but trust takes time. My people fear a return to chaos. Daniel nodded gently, understanding their concerns. Trust must be built, he said clearly. We offer honesty, openness, and respect. We seek unity, not control. Over the following days, Daniel and Zara carefully guided discussions. Yara and her delegation shared their concerns openly. Daniel listened closely, responding calmly and sincerely. Zara's insightful remarks helped ease tensions, demonstrating their genuine intentions. One afternoon, Daniel took the delegation to visit a newly repaired school. The visitors watched children happily studying together, unaffected by past divisions. Seeing, this gives me hope, Yara admitted quietly, observing the joyful children. Maybe we can trust again. By the end of their visit, Yara's delegation agreed to join the new unified council. Daniel and Zara felt deep relief and satisfaction, recognizing the significance of this breakthrough. However, Daniel soon learned of another emerging issue. Zara approached him urgently one evening, worry evident on her face. Some members of the former regime have formed a resistance group. They reject peace and seek to disrupt our efforts. Daniel felt a sense of frustration, but remained composed. We must address this quickly, he said firmly. Violence will only bring suffering. Daniel and Zara immediately began searching for ways to communicate with the new resistance peacefully. Their efforts led them to a remote settlement where sympathizers of the old regime had gathered, driven by fear and mistrust. As Daniel and Zara entered the settlement, hostility greeted them. Suspicious eyes watched carefully, voices whispering. Anxiously, Daniel stepped forward calmly, hands open and non-threatening. We've come to listen, he announced clearly. We understand your fear, but violence will never build a better future. Slowly, an older man emerged from the crowd, his eyes sharp but uncertain. We fought because we believed our way was right. How can we trust your words now? Daniel replied softly, sincerity clear in his voice. Trust starts with honesty and forgiveness. We're here to listen and find common ground. For hours, Daniel patiently addressed their concerns, sharing stories of reconciliation and rebuilding across the region. Zara's presence, calm and reassuring, further eased their fears. Eventually, the atmosphere softened. The older man finally nodded, acceptance in his eyes. Maybe we were wrong to resist. If peace is truly possible, we will support it. Returning to the capital, Daniel felt relieved but mindful of the ongoing challenges. Unity was fragile, requiring continuous nurturing. That evening, Daniel found Zara alone, thoughtfully watching the sunset. He joined her quietly, sensing her. Deep reflection. We've accomplished so much, she began softly. But peace feels delicate, always needing protection. Daniel nodded gently. True peace isn't easy. It demands patience, courage, and continuous effort, but it's worth everything. Zara smiled warmly, her eyes filled with gratitude. Your strength inspires everyone here. You've taught me that peace is more than just an end to fighting, it's creating something beautiful together. Daniel felt moved by her words. I've learned from you too, Zara. Your courage and kindness have guided me as much as I've guided others. As night fell, they remained together quietly, aware of the peace they had worked hard to build. The path forward still held uncertainty, yet both felt prepared to face it. Their bond had grown stronger, rooted in mutual respect and shared hope. Daniel realized then that he had found more than just purpose in helping Zara's people. He had found belonging and friendship, a sense of connection he hadn't known he needed. Looking out over the peaceful city, Daniel knew their journey wasn't complete. Yet, with Zara beside him and the unity of the Vesparians growing each day, he felt confident they could overcome whatever challenges lay ahead. The future, once uncertain and dark, now seemed filled with possibilities and hope. Time passed quickly on Vespera, and Daniel witnessed incredible changes among Zara's people. The Vesparians had come together, overcoming old fears and grudges and working to rebuild their world. Every village and city blossomed with new life and optimism. One bright morning, Zara found Daniel preparing to leave for a neighboring settlement, where he planned to help with a new farming project. She approached him quietly, thoughtful, and calm. "Daniel, there is something important I must show you," she said gently. "It's time you understood fully why your symbol means so much to us." Curious, Daniel followed Zara deep into the countryside. They walked together for hours, until reaching a hidden sacred site known to few. Large stone carvings surrounded a peaceful clearing, ancient yet well-preserved. "This is the place where the prophecy was first recorded," Zara explained quietly. She pointed to a carving, showing a figure bearing the very symbol Daniel wore. "Our ancestors believed deeply in unity and peace. They saw visions of a great leader from the stars who would help us when we needed it most." Daniel stepped closer, examining the carvings carefully. He felt awe and humility, realizing the depth of Zara's people's trust and faith in him. "You've truly changed our world," Zara said softly. "You helped us believe again. Your kindness and strength gave us hope." Daniel shook his head gently. "It wasn't just me, Zara. It was all of you, your courage, your determination. I only helped guide that strength." She smiled warmly. "Perhaps, but you inspired us to find our true path." As they stood quietly together, Daniel realized how deeply connected he had become to Zara and her people. Their struggles and triumphs had become his own. "What happens now?" Daniel asked softly, contemplating the future. "We continue to rebuild," Zara replied firmly. "We stay united, protecting peace and working together. But the choice is yours. Daniel, you've done more than we ever expected." Daniel considered her words carefully. "My place is here, helping your people. I can't imagine being anywhere else." Zara's eyes lit up, genuine happiness filling her expression. "We hoped you would stay. You've become part of us." Over the coming weeks and months, Daniel continued guiding the Vesparians. He helped strengthen their government, advised community leaders, and encouraged ongoing dialogue among all factions. His humble leadership remained a source of inspiration and stability. One evening, during a peaceful gathering under the stars, Zara spoke openly. To their community, her voice strong and sincere. "Together, we've built something incredible. Each of you chose peace over fear. You trusted Daniel and each other. Tonight, we celebrate unity, friendship, and the hope we've nurtured." Cheers and applause filled the night. Daniel watched Zara proudly, recognizing her growth into a true leader. He knew Vespera was in good hands. Later that night, Daniel and Zara walked together quietly through the village, enjoying the gentle sounds of laughter and music drifting on the breeze. "Do you ever miss your home?" Zara asked gently, curiosity. In her voice, Daniel thought for a moment. "This is my home now, Zara. My past feels distant compared to what we've built here." Zara smiled, relieved and happy. "I'm glad you feel that way. You've given us so much, Daniel." "You've given me even more," Daniel replied sincerely. "Purpose, belonging, and friendship." Their bond had deepened, anchored in shared experiences and mutual respect. Zara had become his closest friend, someone He trusted completely. Months turned into years, and Daniel watched as Vespera thrived. Children grew up without fear. Communities supported each other openly, and former enemies became trusted friends. The peace they had built proved strong and lasting. One quiet evening, as Daniel sat beside Zara near a peaceful river, he reflected on their journey. "It's remarkable," Daniel said softly, "to see what can happen when people choose peace over conflict." Zara nodded thoughtfully. "It was never easy, but it was worth every struggle. And none of this could have happened without you." Daniel smiled warmly. "I was only part of it. You and your people chose the harder path, trust, and unity." As the sun set, painting the sky in vibrant colors, Zara looked at Daniel with gratitude. "Your symbol brought us hope, Daniel, but your actions taught us how to live peacefully." "Then perhaps the prophecy wasn't about me specifically," Daniel replied, reflecting deeply. "Maybe it was about the choices we make, about believing in peace and unity." Zara's eyes brightened with understanding. "That makes perfect sense. The true power of the prophecy was always within us. You helped us realize that." Together, they watched the peaceful scene before them. Daniel felt deep contentment and pride, knowing they had created something lasting and meaningful. Their journey had been challenging, filled with trials and triumphs, yet the reward was clear. Daniel knew he would always stay on Vespera, supporting Zara and her people. His heart was fully committed, his life forever changed by the hope and unity they had built together.